September the 6th meeting of the School Board of Charlotte County is hereby called to order. In Charlotte County, we will achieve our vision of student success through our mission. We will provide an innovative educational environment that allows and inspires success for everyone. To lead us in the pledge to the flag today, I will invite Fran Brasser, our Director of Budget, who's going to be presenting later in the meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, do we have any additions or corrections tonight?
We do. We have 3 additions this evening. Item J2F, non-acceptance of the proposed guaranteed maximum price from Balfour Beatty Construction, LLC for Lemon Bay High School. An additional item, and I don't have a number here, it's under bids. An additional bid for Apple iPads for district pilot program. And item J2E, an addition of personnel addendum number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the addition of items J2F, the bid for the Apple iPads, and item J2E. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. At this point, we are going to recess our regular board meeting and call the public hearing to order for purposes of hearing the district budget and millage rates. Mr. Superintendent.
This evening, I'm going to ask Fran Brasser to come to the podium, or perhaps stand without the podium in front of the audience. I believe Fran has a PowerPoint. Is that correct? So I'm going to ask Fran to stand up and present to us the district required local effort, discretionary and capital improvement millage rates for 2011 and 2012, and then continue right into the district budget for 2011-2012. And I'll introduce Fran Brasser, our Director of Budget, or Chief Budget Officer for, Chief Budget Officer for the district, as presenting this information this evening. Fran?
Thank you, Dr. Whittaker, members of the board. Is this on? Mm-hmm. I think we're going to do something a little different tonight. As I look around the room, I do not see a lot of people from the public here, other than school board employees or contractors that work with the school board and so forth. So we had a very extensive presentation during the public hearing on July 26th, was it? Sometime around then. So I think we're going to skip a lot of this and try to just proceed on. There's not a lot of people here that have specific interest in the budget, so I would say that the school board's probably doing a pretty good job relative to this issue.
They all may be planning to watch it on TV.
We don't put it on TV anymore.
Well, on our website.
Our website.
Oh, do you want it? Do you want to go through the whole thing?
I think we need to at least go through the main points.
Well, yeah, that's what I was
go
going to
through
do,
the
the
major
main points. Okay. So we have our 2011-12 budget. I tried. These are the millage rates that the school board is proposing for this year. As you can see, it's substantially down from the prior year. It's about a half a mil down. Property tax values are also down, or not? The property values for the county are down about $1 billion. You can see that, coupled with the drop in the millage rate of a half mil. That's about a 6.3% reduction in the millage rate from last year. Our property taxes that we levy, you can see how it's declining. 2009-10 for operating purpose, we had about $98 million. 2010-11, it dropped to about $93 million. And at the current year, our property tax operating millage is about $80 million. That's $17 million decline over a 2-year period. Our capital improvement tax, which has dropped also by about $5 million. All related to, we're levying the maximum amount we can for capital. That's a $500,000 and or 1.5 mils, excuse me. And we're still generating about $20 million versus the 25. If you own a homestead here in Charlotte County, your school tax would be affected. Thus, if your homestead value was $200,000 and you had your homestead exemption deducted from that, that'd give you a taxable value of $175,000. This year you would be paying school tax under this proposal of $1,285. That's $87 less than you would have paid last year. These are the various funding sources that we have in the school district. The general fund, the largest fund in the district, is about $131 million. It's our operating budget. Pay the vast majority of our teacher salaries, our staff salaries, our operating expenses out of this fund. You'll see a difference, a substantial difference in here that's happened this past year. We have the AARA funds and, get the wrong button. The ARRA stabilization funds, we've lost about $5.4 million. The Education Jobs Act funds, we've lost about $3.3 million there. In addition, we have some stimulus funds that was used to help create new jobs and so forth from the federal government that is also gone. That's about $3.4 million. There's about $700,000 left there related to Race to the Top. Our insurance FEMA funds, we're gradually working that down, getting all our buildings built. We have some balances remaining there of about $22 million. That'll be used to pay off Charlotte High and any of our other claims that we had at that point in time. Debt service funds, we've got about $12 million set in there in that budget. That's used to pay back our qualified school construction bonds that we're currently using to build Lemon Bay and Meadow Park elementary schools. We have capital project funds, which includes the bonding funds for the Meadow Park and Lemon Bay High School, the actual proceeds from that sale. Then we have our internal service funds, which is mostly made up of our employee benefits fund, where we pay our health insurance premiums and so forth out of that. These are our comparative statements for our general fund, and what I've done here is I've combined the general fund, the Education Jobs Bill Fund, and the ARRA Education Stabilization Funds, because they're all basically used for the same purpose. So that gives you a comparison there. We had last year total revenues available of $129 million. This year it's about $109 million. Our operating budget revenues have declined nearly $20 million this year. We were fortunate we carried forward $16 million this current year into this current year from last year. Our appropriations are down also nearly $8 million, about $7.6 million decline, so that we used approximately $10 million of our fund balance to balance our budget. These are some of the funding sources, significant funding sources that we lost this year. FEFP funding level declined. We lost about $3 million. In other words, the amount we get per pupil. FEFP student losses, we lost about 180 students. That cost us about $1.9 million. 0.25 critical needs taxes. This was a tax that the school board was allowed to levy by a supermajority vote of the board for 2 years. And the last year, this current year that we just finished, we had to take it out for a referendum in order to levy it for this coming year, and it did not pass, so that we lost that revenue. Prior period funding adjustments, we lost that because That's a millage rate that we're allowed to levy to make up for taxes that are lost as a result of the Value Adjustment Board. And we did not lose any taxes this year. The Value Adjustment Board didn't decrease it enough to allow us to make up the loss of prior year taxes. Federal stabilization funds, $5.4 million, and the Education Jobs Act funds. In addition to that, the federal stimulus money was also lost, about $2.3 million. So you total that up, that's over $21 million. Our ending fund balance, we brought forward $16.5 billion. We used most of that up this year. We're starting this year with a reserve of about $6.3 million. About 5.9 or roughly 5%, very close to 5% is in our reserve or in our contingency fund. Then we have our general operating budget, our expenditures. This chart's interesting in the light of it shows your 2010-11. You can see a large drop in the instructional expenditures. We spent a year ago, this past year, about $78 million, and this year we're spending closer to $74 million. But the interesting thing is the percent of the budget, the percent of the expenditures. Last year's expense was 59%. This year we have budgeted, in spite of the fact that we lost revenue, a higher percentage of our revenues are going into the classroom, 59.7%. We have our operational plant budget. That's where we pay for our electricity, our garbage collection, our custodial staff. All of that comes in there. And then you have school administration. This is done in the declining order of size from your largest expenditure, which goes on in the classroom. Next in line, your operations, down to curriculum, until you get to the bottom here where you see community service. It's about less than 0.1% of the budget. If you look at general administration, 0.3% of the budget. Our instructional costs are 59.7% of the budget. So these are all the smaller support areas within the budget. You'll notice one thing here that was different than last year is debt interest in the operating budget. There's about $350 million. We are going to be issuing tax anticipation notes this year. These are notes that we levy in order to meet our expenditures until the taxes start coming into the district. People start paying their property taxes. Normally we start getting some collections around the end of November, 1st of December. Well, we have to pay our bills before that. So this year we're going to have to borrow some money. Then last year we were able to borrow some of the money from our insurance fund and so forth until we needed those funds to pay those bills. This year we don't have that luxury. Capital improvement tax. This is the 1.5 mils. It's generating about $19.5 million. This is for capital outlay purposes. We're using these funds for supplementing Lemon Bay. I think there's around $7 million in there for that. You'll see on here we're also PICO. This is public education capital outlay money. This is construction money we get from the state of Florida. As you can see, in this case is what we don't get from the state of Florida. It's a big zero there. Capital outlay and debt service is $110,000. That comes from your motor vehicle license tax. Then we got some interest of about $100,000. We got carryover about $40 million. All those funds are pretty much identified for specific purposes. They're either contracted out just to complete projects from the past or designated. And I think anything that's just designated would be Lemon Bay pretty much. New construction projects, basically Lemon Bay and Meadow Park. Maintenance and repair projects, we've got to keep our facilities up. We've done a good job of that in the past. It's allowing us to cut back a little bit there in order to divert some money to the Lemon Bay project. Other ongoing projects, this is for things like new buses for our transportation fleet, musical instruments, instructional equipment, and so forth. We pay our property insurance premiums out of here. It's about $1.2 million we're allowed to pay. We transfer into the general operating budget about $3.5 million to cover the cost of our ongoing maintenance, where their people go out day to day and do regular maintenance on the facility. We transfer a small amount for equipment that's purchased out of the general fund. And we have an ending unappropriated balance here of about $956,000 for any contingencies that may come up. This is just a detail of the construction projects. I already went over that, basically. Maintenance and repair projects. Ongoing annual projects. This is like vocational equipment and so forth. There are other projects. This is our Hurricane Charlie Recovery Fund. We're coming to a close on that. We're negotiating our settlements, and this will be completed. We have basically just one major area to complete. Charlotte High is pretty much done. We'll be closing that out. The major area to complete would be our Punta Gorda facilities that were damaged during the storm. And with that, Dr. Whitaker, I'll turn it back over to you. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have, school board.
Any questions for Mr. Brasser? Mr. Vincent?
Just have one comment. Fran, you warmed my heart by not giving us the full stack of everything in full size. So I thought there'd be a little smiley face with my name on here. Thank you very much for doing that.
Entirely welcome.
Since we already had it.
Positive reinforcement.
And I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your presentations every year, Fran. We have a very complicated budget, as everyone knows, and you have always managed to make a very clear and concise and easy to understand and transparent presentation, making it easy for all of us to understand, and I appreciate that. And I also thank you for your patience with our questions that we have, not necessarily just at the board meeting, but every year when we come to you for maybe to clarify information on an article we're writing or budget time or whatever. And oftentimes, it's the same question year after year after year. We still don't get it. We still need more clarification, yet you're always very patient with us and explain things over and over again. And I think you and your department do an excellent job every year, so thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say my thank you to all of the people here that work in the district that contribute to this budget, because it makes my job a lot easier. Cooperation. I mean, we really have a great team here from the school board on down. And just can't say enough about that. The other thing that's really helpful in this is that the board and the superintendent believe in transparency. And when you work under that premise, it makes life easier. It really does. With that, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Brasser? Okay. Ms. Smith, do we have any citizens who wish to make a comment on the budget tonight?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Any citizens out there who wish to speak? Even if you work for us, you're still citizens, many of you. Then if there's no objection, we'll close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting. Mr. Superintendent, do we have a recommended action on the millage rates and the budget?
We do. This evening, I am asking for the board to approve a district-required local effort millage of 5.0960, a discretionary millage of 0.7480, and a capital improvement millage of 1.5000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the millage rates as read into the record by the superintendent. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Then we shall recess the regular hearing once again for purposes of calling another public hearing to order. This time the topic is the...
We need to vote on the budget.
That's right, because we did the millage rates. You're absolutely right. So, Mr. Superintendent, do we have a recommended action on the budget?
Yes, I am recommending
Thank you.
school board approval of the 2011-2012 budget as presented to you tonight by Mr. Brasser.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the budget for the 2011-2012 calendar year, school year. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Now we have passed the millage rates and the budget, so we will recess the regular meeting and call the public hearing to order for purposes of the student progression plan. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, we are bringing to you tonight for your approval the student progression plan for the 2011-2012 school year. This plan was workshopped with the board this previous month, and we have Dr. Widmeyer available if you have any questions, if you would like for her to come to the podium for an overview, whatever is your pleasure.
I know we did have extensive conversation at the workshop, but it's possible somebody has another question or something came up since then? No? Okay. Then are there any citizens who wish to speak on this item?
Move public hearing be closed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the public hearing. If there's no objection, we will resume the regular meeting and take action on the student progression plan. Recommended action.
It's my pleasure to recommend to you this evening school board approval of the student progression plan for the 2011-2012 school year.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the student progression plan as presented. Any board discussion? It really is a very detailed document, and it requires annual constant attention for updates and legislative changes. So it's not a small document to maintain and update. So we appreciate your diligent efforts. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is reports. It seems odd since we've taken action already, but Charlotte High School lead presentation.
Yeah, it's my pleasure this evening to bring to you a report on recognition of Charlotte High School as a lead school. I'm going to ask Gene Spur if he would come to the podium. Also invite Bill Burns from Ajax to join Gene in this presentation this evening.
It's very exciting.
Thank you. Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Whitaker. I'm pleased to be followed up here tonight by Bill Burns. You all know Bill, president of Ajax Building Corporation, to make this presentation on this LEED certificate and a nice picture. So with that, I'll let Bill say a few words and pass this on.
Welcome, Mr. Burns.
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. As you may recall, we actually announced that Charlotte High had won LEED Gold a couple of months ago, and this is just a little token of our appreciation. We did the same thing for Punta Gorda Middle to show the community as they enter the school, a little bit about the project that had obtained LEED Gold and a little picture and just a commemoration of our appreciation for the project. So thank you for allowing us to be a part of it, and we look forward to doing the same on our next project.
Thank you. Well, we're very proud of that. I mean, I will tell you, it's funny because the county commission frequently is touting the focus on green efforts within the community, and one of the first things they say is how all the schools that have been rebuilt since Hurricane Charlie are LEED recognized schools, and we all know that a lot of time, energy, and effort went into it, and I don't remember a whole lot of working with the county commission on those issues. However, it is recognized, and we do appreciate it, and we're thrilled that we got up to the gold level. I know we took steps along the way, but and I'll never forget Jerry originally with the very first, it was at the Baker Center. You brought us that smoky glass pane and asked us to look at it and kind of consider whether we'd be willing to go there. So we've come a long way to get from the early LEED recognition up to the level of gold for a high school, no less. So we're thrilled with that. Thank you very much. Did you want to say anything about that?
No, just very briefly, thank you again to Ajax for partnering with the district. Getting the lead designation starts in the very early planning process and goes all the way through the completion of construction. So there's a lot of folks involved in this particular recognition. So thank you again this evening, Bill, for bringing the commemorative plaque that we can put up at Charlotte High School.
The next item is old business. I don't see any. Do you have any to add?
No old business this evening.
All right, then we'll move to new business, the consent agenda. Dr. Whitaker.
This evening I am presenting the consent agenda as presented to you.
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Would it be possible for us to pull the bids portion out specifically regarding the new, the addition that came in today?
Absolutely. Yep. If there's no objection from any of the other members, we'll just go ahead and pull that one item. Now, I just want to refer back to make sure I get the item number, which is, I don't have that number, but it's under the additions.
It's
J1C.
J1C.
Thank you, J1C. And it is the bid for the Apple iPad. So excluding that item, can I get a recommendation?
Yes, I'm recommending school board approval of the consent agenda without the bid for the Apple iPods.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda without the item, let me make sure I get that number right again, J1C. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Next item is going to be item J1C, which is the item that was on the additions to the agenda, and it is the iPad quotes.
I said
Yes, sir.
iPods, I meant iPad. Too many apples. And you want me to make recommendation, or would you like to have more information about this?
And that's really why, this is something we talked about this morning, was the first we had heard of it. I think it would be irresponsible for us to be talking about over a $500,000 item without really talking about this $500,000 item. So I would just like to get a little more information about it, educate myself, educate the rest of us.
Great.
I will ask Mr. Bress to come to the podium, give us collectively the overview of this bid. As he's coming, I will tell you that I received a phone call from Mr. Bress, I believe it was on Friday afternoon, with a, gee, can we do this? We have a great opportunity, wonderful offer from Apple Corporation, tremendous savings as we move forward with a pilot project, but we have to get this approved before the end of their fiscal year, which I believe is September 26th, if I'm correct. Therefore, we needed to get it on this agenda. Normally, we wouldn't hurry something of this value, except that it's such a great value, and I'll let Chris give you a little bit of that detail.
The object of what we're trying to do here is prepare ourselves for what's going to be happening in the next few years in terms of digital curriculum. By 2014, we're supposed to be spending at least 50% of all instructional material dollars on digital textbooks, and then that percentage will just continue to increase.
Excuse me, Chris, when you say supposed to, would you clarify who's put down that mandate?
The state. Yeah. And so, part of the reason why I say supposed to is I don't know if they'll blink or not, because I don't think that everybody knows how everything's going to fall into place in time. However, if they keep with that mandate, we need to have a way of delivering those textbooks into the hands of students. And so what we were hoping to do is pilot at two schools, Port Charlotte Middle School and Port Charlotte High School, an iPad project. And we were going to pick 10 classrooms in each school where we would put a unit together, and I'll tell you what's in each piece so that you know. It's going to have a cart, and inside that cart you can house 30 iPads, which is enough for a classroom set with a few extras. There will also be a laptop that's used to sync all of the iPads in unison to help with that process. We also are going to bundle $50 worth of software credit with each device as part of that capital expense that they can buy either digital curriculum, digital apps, some type of content to put on the devices. We are also going to put an iPad-compatible printer, so if the kids are using these to create something, there's a way for them to actually get it off the device and into and I know it's against printing, but the teachers want to be able to have something to be produced from these devices. Absolutely. And so basically, we want to do this now before the thumb of the state falls on us so we can solve the problems that are going to occur, because there's really no school district in the state of Florida that I truly believe has a good understanding of what's it going to mean to have that many iPads in circulation simultaneously. And so it's as much of an experiment for us as it is an experiment for the schools in how will this impact instruction, how will this impact discipline, how will this, and so on and so on and so on. So I got together with Karen LaPorte, Chuck Bradley, and we met with Dee Revelis and Steve Dionisio to discuss this concept to see if they were interested in it. Because I wasn't going to force this on them, but at the same point, I think it's only prudent for us to try to practice before we have to do it. And so both of the principals agreed that, a little bit nervously, but said, yes, we agree. We'd like to be able to see how this would go in 10 classrooms. So they put forth a proposal to their teachers where their teachers are writing out applications to become one of the 10 teachers chosen. And they're in the process of doing that. And those are coming into Karen over the next couple of weeks so that we can order them hopefully by September 16th to meet the deadline that Apple has for this fiscal year. If we happen to miss it, our price, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe the price would go up somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. So it's not millions or hundreds of thousands that we're saving, but it is tens of thousands that we're saving by doing it.
And Chris, if you don't mind me asking, the dollars come out of technology or in instructional materials? Because that's two different categories now.
That's an interesting question. This time around, the dollars are going to come from some QZAB dollars that we have left.
Okay.
But in the future, this will be a significant problem, and if I can have 60 seconds to go on my soapbox for you guys to be thinking about this. We get approximately $1.5 million in instructional material money, okay, each year. Let's say we would save a third of that by going digital. I don't think that we will, because the textbooks will still say it's intellectual capital that you're purchasing. Mm-hmm. But let's assume that we save $500,000 a year. Well, if we did go with something like iPads for all of the students in our school district, it would cost approximately $8 million. So if we save $500,000 a year over a 6-year adoption period, that gives us $3 million, but it's going to cost us $8 million to put the devices into place, plus the infrastructure cost, plus the technology support. That's why I think at some point, in some fashion, the state might have to blink somehow, but you never know. And so what we're trying to do is be in the best possible position to meet the compliance.
We're still waiting for them to blink on other things, and they haven't. So
exactly. And so I truly believe that this is, and it's a good thing for it to move forward. But then some of the debate will come, well, is it a digital curriculum if we go to Kindles or Nooks or iPads? But the argument that I would often make, and for those of us that remember mimeograph machines and Xerox machines, did the digital curriculum change when we went from blue mimeograph to black Xerox? Or is it just a different way of reading it? So if you get a PDF and you read it on a Kindle, did the curriculum change? Or is it just a different way of looking at it? See, whereas having a device like an iPad, or it could be an Android, I'm not saying that it's 100% decided, but the more powerful the tablet device, the more flexibility. You can watch videos as well as being able to read, as well as being able to manipulate the graphics in the book. Because I fear that if the state pushes forward towards Kindles, now you're looking at a full-color biology textbook. Now you're looking at a black and white image unless they move to the... See, so are we actually moving backwards in terms of curriculum delivery, or are we moving forwards? So this is just another place where we're trying to prepare ourselves to be in the best possible place as we move forward.
Any other questions for Mr. Bress?
Thank you.
I'm glad you're looking out for us and being
Thank you.
proactive
Thank you.
on us. Thank you.
Do we have a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend school board approval of item J1C, the purchase of iPads from Apple Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the purchase of the item J1C, the iPads, the bids here with the Apple Corporation. Any board discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Moving into the action agenda. Now we're going back to the budget from 2010-2011, and we're working on some final budget amendments. Mr. Superintendent?
Tonight, I'm asking for board approval of the final budget amendments for 2010-2011.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the final budget amendments 2010-2011. Any board discussion? I was kind of looking at Fran, waiting for him to come up and talk about them. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The annual financial report. Dr. Whitaker.
I'm also asking school board approval tonight of the annual financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the annual financial report as submitted. Any board discussion? I know this was probably the first time you saw one of those, but it's obviously just the numbers from what occurred. So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item, adoption of the tax anticipation notes resolution. I know Mr. Brasser referred to this in his previous presentation.
Yes, he did. And this year we have to go out and actually borrow money in order to meet our financial obligations throughout the fall until tax revenue begins to come in late November and into December. So with that in mind, I'm asking school board approval of the issuance of the tax anticipation notes for the 2011-2012 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the adoption of the tax anticipation notes resolution. Any board discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Next item, Punta Gorda Center warehouse and associated site work.
We're beginning this project. You've had a number of presentations in recent months with the plan designs and the preliminary work. And tonight I'm asking approval of contract amendment number 1 with Ajax Building Corporation for the guaranteed maximum price for the Punta Gorda Center warehouse and associated site work.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Punta Gorda Center warehouse and associated site work contract amendment number 1. Board discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Next item is personnel action as amended. Dr. Whitaker.
I'm asking for school board approval of the personnel action agenda item and the amendment that accompanies it.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the personnel action item as amended. Board discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Are there any citizens who wish to speak before the board tonight? Seeing none. Attorney comment? Okay. Board member comment? Ms. Miller?
No comment.
Oh. Mr. Vincent?
You know, me too. I don't have a whole lot to say.
Okay. Mr. Swift? Thank you.
I'm looking forward to getting out of here to the first part of the retreat for the weekend. So thank you.
Really? Okay, Ms. Randall.
Okay, I'll make it a foursome. Let's go.
You guys don't
Pressure's
do this
on.
to me.
Pressure's on.
I do want to recognize the Yayas because I think you all probably got or saw the letter that said the Yayas delivered 492 backpacks filled with food for the children to take home over the Labor Day weekend. So that is very impressive, and we have always appreciated the Yayas' work with that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Leader in Me Banner Day, which I was thrilled to be a part of, and it was like the Prize Patrol team. We drove up to the front of the school, and Chuck Bradley got out the megaphone and said, you know, whatever the school name might be, come on out. And they all came out, and we presented them with this banner from the Covey organization. The kids were so thrilled and so proud, and it was really a fun day. So I had a great time with that. Mr. Superintendent.
I don't have any comments, but I think we have a matter of business we need to go back to. I think we skipped J2F. Remember, it was added to the agenda this evening, but we did not vote on it.
F, J, yeah, it's a part of the consent agenda, though. No action.
No, it's an action. It should be an action item, non-acceptance of the proposed guarantee.
You're absolutely right.
Oh, yeah.
C, D, E, F, you're absolutely right. Gosh, I really messed up tonight. All right, I appreciate that very much. So the item J2F, which is
I'm
additions.
recommending that the board approve the non-acceptance of the proposed guaranteed maximum price from Balfour Beatty Construction LLC for the Lemon Bay High School.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. It's moved and seconded that we approve the recommendation, which is the non-acceptance of the proposed guaranteed maximum price from Balfour Beatty Construction for Lemon Bay High School. Board discussion. I did just want to mention that I hope that we can reach a resolution on this issue and that we can come to some agreeable guaranteed maximum price. I know we've been working with Balfour Beatty for a while out there, and just hope that we can get to a maximum price that we can all agree on. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that item carries unanimously. Any other action items I've omitted?
No, that's it.
Any other comments?
Not this evening, other than, once again, just to thank all of our staff, teachers, support folks, building level leaders, district folks, for a very, very smooth opening to this school year. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make one last call for action items. Seeing none, meeting adjourned.